My friends thought I was mad about 9 years ago to chuck up a so-called successful television job in London and move down to the wilds of North Devon. I thought I was madder still to have such a place and only come down here for about 1 or 2 weeks in the year. I wanted to return to a simpler way of life. I was stale from expensive kind of lunches and late nights in clubs, everything which I rather miss now. But I'm glad I did come down here. It's good to know that this view from my window will never be spoilt, because the coastline along here is changing all too rapidly. Simple villages like Croyd over the headland are becoming stained with development because they are regarded as resorts already and are not included in coastal protection. Of course, development must happen. Tourism is inevitable. But I do believe that a saturation point can be reached, after which there is the danger of destroying everything for everyone, the tourists included. Then we'll kill the one individual asset that this coastline possesses, a degree of peace and solitude. But of course, this problem is not unique to North Devon. It is universal. I'm concerned with this particular stretch because I live here and love it. And also, I do believe that there's still time, if we seize the opportunity now, to prevent it from being mutilated. I do realize I'm tremendously lucky to be able to wake up and look out on the Atlantic, with sometimes Lundy Island in the distance on really good hot days, barely visible. It would be a crime to live here without an animal, and I have a madness of 8 dogs. There can be mornings in the autumn and early spring when I can go on the beach and not find another footprint, or paw mark for that matter, on the miles of sand. This is the value of such a place, a degree of solitude. But for how long? For the trouble with solitude is that when thousands of people go in search of it, it no longer exists. Solitude is a luxury that is becoming all too rare nowadays.
It is not just the plundering, but the taming of the countryside that is so diminishing. No reasonable person could object to a scene like this, a crowded beach on a summer's day, but need we always make it so easy, so that people only have to walk the last few yards, if indeed they leave their cars at all? Car parks and static caravan sites, right on the edge of the sea. The new hotel, hideous against the skyline, for it is not only what is done, but how it's done. And our architects seem to have plumbed a new depth of feebleness. If you have doubts, compare the pretentiousness of the new with the simplicity of the old cottages like these in the local villages of Putsborough and Croyd. Miraculously, this scene remains much the same, but the pattern of village life itself is changing drastically.
Everyone was happier years ago, neighbours, one up the other. You'd work on the farms, one with a few finished harvest, another one was coming out, you one out the other. Now it's now today.
In many ways it's true, isn't it, that the simpler life is the better and happier life?
It is. I think so. The old club room. used to be up there. It's better days. You know, the village was more you had the blacksmith here, the carpenter, the cobbler, and everyone was one community, you see, around.
Yes.
Yes.
You've got some old photos, haven't you?
Yes. This is one of the old Putsborough.
Well, there weren't many. There weren't many people on the beach then.
No. You fire a gun then across the beach, you wouldn't know one.
Well, if you did that today in the summer, you'd kill several thousand.
I used to do a lot of fishing down there now, and I remember the time when I went down there and when this oil age started, I came home, got in bed, you know, and bottom of my feet was all black to this oil. First my experience with oil coming here back 30, you know, like 20, 30 years ago.
There's a lot of plastic and stuff now.
Plastic, but you go out there fishing now, you see, you bring in plastic and paper, and that beach used to be so clean as could be, that beach was, Putsborough.
There's a tremendous satisfaction in coming down on the beach after a really fierce storm like there was yesterday and seeing all the flotsam and jetsam, driftwood and something like this curious round, don't know what it is, which I can use as a table. But more and more there is this pernicious flotsam and jetsam of plastic wrappers, plastic containers, millions of little white objects like small pearls, industrial waste that come from the Bristol Channel, all of which linger tide after tide.
I wonder who it was who invented plastic. Doubtless he made a fortune. One man who is frankly delighted by the explosion of tourism is John Fowler, the head of the North Devon Tourist Board, which he started independently with headquarters in his own holiday village in Ilfracombe. When he organised a competition to name the coastline, the most popular entry was Coast of Sands, until it was realised that Ilfracombe doesn't have much sand. The name finally chosen was the Golden Coast. But if tourism gets out of control, this gold could be tarnished forever. There must be a saturation point.
Everything under the sun has a saturation point, but I think we won't see saturation on this coastline, not in our lifetime.
Well, that's an extraordinarily selfish point of view, because there are, we hope, other generations to follow.
Yes.
And they will curse you.
I don't think we're being selfish at all. We've got to think of the residents here, the people who live here. They've got to make a living. It's a depressed area. You know what's happening here? The local people, the people that belong here, the Devonians, are being forced away to take jobs in Birmingham and so on.
But one reason for that is because it is entirely a seasonal interest. It's based on the tourists in the summer, and it's a dead town, and God, it is dead in the winter.
A properly run tourist industry would support the local population.
Ilfracombe is a popular resort with one of the most attractive natural harbours in Europe. But to my mind, it is the victim of a seasonal invasion. In the summer, it offers the tourist a grudging minimum of entertainment. Nightlife is almost non-existent. And in the winter, the residents have to pay the penalty for the lack of local life. Beautiful when the sun is shining, but death on rainy days and out of season. I should welcome tourism more if we were better at it. Thankfully, one of the bastions of village life survives, the local. In this case, the Manor Inn at Croyd, run by Mr. and Mrs. Fred Treasure, where I talk to men who've spent all their life here about the legend of the good old days.
Yes, the good old days, real good old days, Ira. It's gone.
These are the best ones, sir.
Why?
I've seen both. Brought up 7 children, too. This is the good days. They said the good old days backwards, but not true. This is the good days, sir.
Do you like to see the tourists arrive in summer?
They're only here about 16 weeks. They say they come and go in the season, and that's it.
Yes.
Charlie's father used to say they used to come and go with the runner beans. Just about true.
There's a lot more money now. I worked for 32 and 6 a week and I had 7 children. But all the time, they had a good dog to catch a rabbit, though. They brought it up. If it hadn't been for that dog, sir, I should starve yourself. I had a rates come once, 15 shillings. I hadn't got the money. I had 7 children. I had a good dog. I went out this night and I caught 16. 15 bob for the rest and 1 for myself. A shilling each, sir. Rabbits were they? 15 bob for the rest and 1 shilling for myself. And I gave the dog, this on a Saturday night, and I gave the dog my Sunday dinner. And I had bread and cheese. And that's what I'm like. I love animals. Yes, I gave that dog my dinner, and my wife did shout and swear, and I didn't care about that. I give him my dinner, and I had bread and cheese.
The more people come down there and they keep these surfers here, I've given up the car park now, and that's my chief thing, because in a few years' time, they'll be killing somebody every other day with these surfboards, these Malibu boats.
That'll keep them down, you think?
I think that'll keep. I think they'll be afraid to come on this little small beach, Floyd, because of these Malibu boards and the women gypsies that come on them. That's what I think.
You're anti-surfer?
Yeah. Well, not anti-surfer, but I'm anti the blokes that come with them. Yeah, they come here and they live the whole weekend on a pint of milk and about a packet of biscuits.
In other words,
yeah.
In other words, they don't spend enough money.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Anyone listening would think you're all very mercenary.
Well, I don't know about that.
People who live here are in an ambiguous position. Tourism seems immediately beneficial to the local tradesmen, but if it is too successful, the big supermarkets will move in. Some people find themselves in the lucky position of being the new rich, owners of a field that is suddenly worth a large fortune if it's developed. In the case of Jean and Stephen Tucker, whose father is a farmer with valuable property today, they are faced with exploiting their land into car parks and beach shops, and who can blame them? Yet they risk spoiling the countryside, which they may possess, but which they belong to as well. Is the development of land into something like a car park worth it to them if it becomes an eyesore?
Well, I don't think it'll come to an eyesore in that sense of the word, because the cars, they don't start coming in really until 10 o'clock in the morning, and you don't get the maximum amount until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And by 5, well, half of them are gone again. So you've only got this for a few hours of the day. I don't think it's going to mar the scenery that much.
Come anyway, so how can you've got to accommodate them. You can't say to the people, we can't take any more, because the roads will be getting jammed, won't they?
Well, what are you going to do about it?
Well, as the land is private now, as long as it stays privately owned land, it'll never be developed. This is the whole idea. We've kept it, well, as nice as we can down here. It's a private beach and we'll keep it that way.
However often I see it, the view of Baggy Point never disappoints. This is one of the excitements of living on the Atlantic, that the outlook is never the same.
At first I meant to stay here for the summer only, but now I like all the seasons. I'm aware of them as I never was in London. I even look forward to the storms of winter that can persist even on a mad March day. And when they're over, there's the reward of spring with the promise of hot days in the sun, and the final glow of September with long, even lines of surf and stillness.
Many people will think that mine is a selfish attitude, and in wanting to keep things as they are, I realize that local residents like myself My neighbours, Colonel and Mrs. Hardy, their friends Mrs. Killard Levy and Commander Williams, can be accused of wishing to stop the clock.
It was wonderfully peaceful here. One doesn't expect always to have these lovely beaches yourself. One wouldn't want that. But I mean, there must be some iron curtain drawn down somewhere to stop. You know, nothing more I don't think should be done, really. I think it's reached saturation point now already.
This beach really fills up in the summer in those 3 months. And what we must do is, I think, protect and preserve it and not allow things like arcades and shooting galleries and jukeboxes and so forth.
I think most of these people you see that come down here, they exploit. They don't care really about the place at all, not as we do.
And when I was young, we used to come here in a donkey cart, and if there was anybody else on the beach, we had a fit. Used to go home.
Well, I can remember the time on a summer evening when you came down to this beach about 7:30 when everybody else was having their dinner. And you could go in and with nothing on, bathe with nothing on. I've done it often. Have a good look around, see if there was anybody sculling.
Today you'd be arrested on the spot.
Today you'd never get there because, I mean, the crowds are so terrific, you wouldn't get to the water.
Tell me the absolute truth. Do you like tourists?
Some, not all. They can be a bit of a nuisance here.
You get one or two rather arrogant ones who think, you know, they bought the place, you know, and won't move, you know, when you're driving along the road and they pass a passing place and they expect you to do all the backing. I mean, we get that type.
I don't mind seeing people getting out of the car and walking, but when you see them sitting there, usually with a newspaper hiding them sleeping when they might be looking at the sea or walking, it isn't good enough.
Well, there were 3 girls in the post office last year in trousers, and they had 3 transistor sets, one round each neck, and they're all playing different tune at different stations. Those are not quite so desirable.
That corner in the wrong hands could become, might I say, like Westward Ho.
At its worst, Westward Ho is a sad example of planning gone wrong. Dismal places are never really disguised by exotic names like mango swamp villas. But for those who live here, Westward Ho might well seem the most desirable place in the world.
Why do people come to Westward Ho? To live?
Yes, they do. Some people do. Most people are coming down here to retire.
And die?
I don't know about die. They've got long life down here. I was talking to an old gentleman last night. He's 87, and he looks about 60.
Why did you move down here?
Well, for one thing, I'd got no relations in London where I came from. My sister was down here. And she said that she'll get me a caravan if she could, you see, and she got me one, so that's why I'm retired and been down here.
Do you think it's very healthy down here?
Oh, yes, definitely. Definitely.
What about the nightlife?
Not much nightlife. That's very dim. Apart from that, it's beautiful. It really is.
Just look up there. It's beautiful.
You in fact, would call Westward Ho beautiful?
Yes, I would. I think, well, you see, it's so open and very nice. It's not... it's not like living in a row of houses or a council estate.
Well, when you say, with all respect, that it's not like living in a row of houses, isn't it in fact like living in a row of caravans?
No, it isn't.
What's his name?
Tracy.
It's a nice name. Why? Why do you call him that?
Well, I wanted a name that would be easy to say quickly if I want to call him quickly at night. Tracy, 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 you know. And I admired the actor, Spencer Tracy. He was named after him.
Really?
Yes, yes.
I can see a resemblance. Are you Welsh?
No, my husband's Welsh. My husband's Welsh. But I had been here before, and then I lost my first one and came back again and found another, and then I came back again after I lost him, because it's a marvellous place to live.
And we've got a nice community here. We're all friendly together. And,
one final question. Have you ever read the book?
The book? What book?
Westward Ho.
I don't think I have. I didn't know there was a book.
I've yet to... Really? It's named... This place is named after the book.
Well, who was the author?
By Charles Kingsley.
Oh, by Charles Kingsley. No, I didn't. I knew about Charles Kingsley, of course, but I didn't know he'd written a book.
Around the corner from Westward Ho lies the village of Appledore, which is a welcome contrast in spite of some new blocks of buildings that are already beginning to spoil the skyline. The first time I walked down the quayside of Appledore and along the narrow streets, I gained a faint idea of what English seaside villages might have been like in the days of the Armada. There's nothing pixie about Appledore. It's down to earth, or down to sea in this case, for the backyards of the houses tumble into the water. Appledore lives by the sea, and sometimes dies by it. This is the graveyard at Appledore, scattered with family names like Hocking, Screech, Johns, Tucker, and of master mariners and others who've died by the sea. In loving memory of Thomas Fishwick, who was drowned in the River Torridge, February 1910, aged 41 years. James Parmenter Leslie, master mariner. Anne Grenfell, the beloved wife of John Harvey, seaman's missionary. Charles Henry Balston. He has sailed on his last commission on that beautiful ship called Rest, and his head is safely pillowed on our great commander's breast.
A ship out of the past, Drake's Golden Hind, reconstructed in Appledore, is launched on the start of her long journey to America.
Beautiful, man, beautiful.
There's music and dancing tonight, a touch of merry England. A pity there isn't celebration on every summer's night, but this is a once-in-a-century occasion.
About 20 years ago, Appledore was fading out as a community. Today it's flourishing, largely due to Jim Venus and his shipbuilding concern, which is the most successful private enterprise venture of this sort in the country. The covered shipyard itself, rather surprisingly, is the biggest in Europe. Personally, I don't find this building offensive because it's genuine, it works. In fact, they've got £8 million worth of orders to build ships. It's part of the way of life.
Much of the point in living in a district like this is the return to simpler ways of life, which more and more people yearn for today. Open wood fires, food you have grown yourself, fish you have caught, fruit you have picked. Every Friday is market day in Barnstable, and the produce of the stalls sounds like a catalogue of half-forgotten tastes: honeycombs and Devonshire cream, dark brown eggs, homemade jams and chutneys, bunches of local flowers. Visitors wander around with astonishment as if they were in the silks of Marrakesh, and have the added blessing of local pubs open all day long on market day. The pannier market is threatened constantly with demolition. Fortunately, the farmers' wives who come here to sell and gossip seem as tough as some of their free-range chickens, and the market continues. Long may it do so. We are far too eager to pull things down. I am not so concerned with the present, more the future. In 100, 50, even 25 years' time, will people remember scenes like these through the memories of old people or views on faded photographs? If so, I doubt if we shall be forgiven.
This is the village of Georgium, where my father is buried. He was an American who traveled the world as a foreign correspondent until finally he made his home here in North Devon. Man's inability to leave his environment in peace was a recurring theme in his books. The West believes that man is the ultimate purpose of creation, that he was meant to dominate nature, the more forests he fells to turn into tree stumps, the more prairies he ploughs to turn into dust bowls, the more rivers he turns into industrial sewers, the happier he will be. He wrote that in 1955, long before words like pollution and ecology became fashionable. I remember him saying, "We will leave nothing alone."